Hello, it's John Heaton, and I'm going to review this album from Abba now. Released 23rd April 1979, and this was another massively successful album, in the UK at least, a huge #1 album, number 19 in the US. The All Music Guide said the US were beginning to lose interest by this stage, as Abba made the foray into disco. And maybe that was the case in the US, but in the UK there was still a massively successful group. I remember there was backlash against their success, and I was guilty of this as well, because I went through a couple of years at school around this time of thinking Abba were not very trendy thing to be into, and not particularly talented, and a bit naff. As I say, this period only lasted 2 years, and then after that, for the last few decades, I've been back to loving them. But it's strange how, when a band is massively successful, it can have a backlash from the fans, the critics, you name it. I remember watching on YouTube recently an episode of Jukebox Jury, where Angel Eyes was one of the tracks being discussed, and people were pretty derogatory about it, saying just more of the same, nothing special. Johnny Rotten was on the panel, slagging it off. But who cares? This band has stood the test of time, not just their greatest hits collections, but their albums as well, in my opinion. And this is one of their strongest albums. It really is. And okay, it was a little bit disco-y, but it's effective disco. It's really well played, and some big hit singles off here. Nice cover. I like the cover, although the person who shot it, I read, doesn't particularly like it, but I think it's pretty cool. Nice picture of the band there. And so that's the UK. This is my UK copy on the Polydor label, and with the lyric sheet. And then I have quite an interesting Spanish copy to show you, which I picked up here in Hungary, which may not be that rare, but for me it was quite rare, because it includes the Spanish version of Chiquitita as an extra track. At the end of side 1, they've got the Spanish version of Chiquitita on the vinyl, and they've added it to the lyric sheet here. So I don't recall ever seeing that. I'm sure I haven't seen a copy of this Spanish one before, and I was quite very glad to pick it up, and it wasn't that expensive. Probably got a good deal, and it's on the Epic label. Chiquitita, we'll come to Chiquitita, shall we? So I've given you the chart positions, a few derogatory reviews, but the fans in the UK bought it by the shed load, and I think this album's quite well regarded now. It was recorded in over a year period, March 78 to March 79, in the newly opened Polar Studios in Stockholm, and some studio called Criteria Studio in Miami. And opens up gloriously with this track, As Good As New, with a superb string arrangement from Roger Gunnarsson. Really is a great combination of strings, and then the disco beat comes in, and this turns into a pretty good raving opener with some great vocals. Really catchy, just superbly produced. I mean, again, they were into new territory here, really, with disco, and they'd already preceded this album with the single Summer Night City, which had done pretty well, but I think they took that to a better maturity on this album. And this is a glorious opener. And here we have the Spanish titles written underneath the English ones as well. I just noticed that. Then we have the title track, Voulez, and this is probably my least favourite track on the album, or one of them, because I feel as if they were trying a little bit too hard to be disco here. I mean, it's quite effective. I mean, I noticed they're using different musicians on this track. So on most of the cuts you've got Ola Brunkert, Roger Gunnison and co, the usual crew. But on this track you've got, let me get you the English version. Drums from Joe Galdo, bass Arnold Passero, piano Paul Harris. So I guess maybe this was the track recorded in Miami, I don't know. Maybe and this is the track where they're trying to sound more sort of authentic disco. And I think because the musicianship is different, it doesn't really sound like an ABBA track to me, although the vocals are very familiar, of course. And there's a video to go with this, which is a kind of mock live performance, which is okay. It's just not very interesting for me. I Have a Dream is a nice ballad with a very simple childlike tune, and it's not particularly sophisticated lyrically or melodically, but simplicity is often the key to a really sustainable melody, and this song has lasted the test of time. And there's a nice video with the children singing along. It's a heartfelt song, and you don't have to be have any particularly deep spiritual meaning in songs. You can just sing simple lyrics like this. There's nothing wrong with it. I have a dream, a song to sing to help me cope with anything. If you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels when I know the time is right for me. I'll cross the stream. I have a dream. I think it's beautiful. And one of their best ballads. Angel Eyes is next, and this was the song which was slagged off on Jukebox Jury, and it was a medium-sized hit in the UK. It didn't do particularly well. A little bit formulaic, maybe. But this is very nitpicking, minor criticism, because the vocal performance is just brilliant. And as someone pointed out on my last video where I discussed Bjorn and Benny's contribution, they sing, Bjorn sings along with Agnetha and Frida, an octave below, very effectively in the verse, very effectively. And as they did so many times throughout their career, blended their voices together seamlessly. And this is a top-notch track. Maybe not absolutely top draw, but not far off. Then we've got, that's one of the few songs where I couldn't find a video performance from the band. Maybe there is one out there, I just didn't see it. The thing about ABBA is virtually every track of their career you can find a TV show where they're doing the track, or a video made specifically for the track. It really is incredible. They have to have one of the highest coverage rates when it comes to video material. And but I couldn't find one for this track, or not an official one anyway. King Has Lost Its Crown. I did find a TV version of this on YouTube, a show where they were on somewhere or other. Frida takes the lead here, as she had on I Have a Dream. And it's a nice track to close side one. It's quite moody, and the lyrics are about some guy who thinks a bit too much of himself, and he's fallen out of favour with his lady, and the king has lost his crown. Self-explanatory, really, and pretty decent closer to side one. Not tremendous, but good. And then we move over to side two, and we have Benny's storming rocker, Does Your Mother Know? And this is a very happy-go-lucky, fun track, good dance number, and well sung by Bjorn. But the lyric material is a little bit suspect. I mean, he's talking about an underage girl who's trying to chat him up, basically. And although there's nothing too outrageous, take it easy, better slow down, girl. That's no way to go. Does your mother know? Take it easy, try to cool it, girl. Play it nice and slow. Does your mother know? And I can see what you want, but you seem pretty young to be searching for that kind of fun, so maybe I'm not the one. You're so cute, I like your style, and I know what you mean when you give me a flash of that smile, but girl, you're only a child. It's quite a good lyric, actually, reading it. And you know, by today's standards, it's nothing really. I mean, I suppose it raised a few eyebrows at the time, or maybe it even does now. I think it's quite harmless fun. No more offensive than You're 16 from Ringo Starr. Although Ringo didn't write that one. So we have now is If It Wasn't for the Nights, and whilst this wasn't a single, there's a good version of this one on here, which is another good DVD I would check out. It's got some TV show material which they did in Japan, including If It Wasn't for the Nights, and a lot of their other hits. Summer Night City is on here, and also a good version of Tiger and That's Me. And you've got various Japanese people dancing in front of them quite amusingly. It's just a really fun video to watch. All their videos are nice to watch. And this is a good disco number. I think this is more successful than the title track as a disco experimental number. I think they do it really well. Agnetha and Frida share the lead vocal. Then we come to Chiquitita, which this really is top drawer ABBA now. This is up there with their best ballads, and it was released as a preceding single in January of '79. Top 5 in the UK for sure, and a great video with them in the snow with the snowman. Check it out. There's a lot of videos to check out from ABBA, but that's one of the best. So glorious piano from Benny at the end to cap a wonderful song, wonderful melody, wonderful singing, and wonderful musicianship. And this is the old crew: Lasse Wallander, Bjorn on guitar, Ola on drums, and Roger Gunnarsson bass. And then penultimate track, Lovers Live a Little Longer, and I did again find another TV show where they performed this track. I'm not sure where it was. Didn't say. The previous one was in Switzerland, I think, or one of them was The King Has Lost His Crown, I think, was Switzerland. I'm not sure. They went all over Europe performing on TV shows. Lovers Live a Little Longer. Yeah, it's an okay track. Back with the basic musicianship again. It's the closest this album gets to filler, probably. But nothing unlistenable about it. One doesn't skip it. But the album then finishes very strongly, and this is the one, that comes from a Swiss TV show for sure, Kisses of Fire. And check this out, they do it really well. Good version. And Ola Brunkett drums, Roger Gunnarsson bass, Lasse and Bjorn on guitar, synthesizers Benny. Agnetha takes the lead here, and a glorious opener to this album and a glorious closer, both of which sung by Agnetha, by the way, but that's just coincidence. And I love the track, as I said in my earlier video. I love the way that Bjorn comes in at the end with I'm on the point of no returning. I just think a brilliant example of how they blended their voices together, and Benny is even getting pretty excited playing the piano and singing along as well. But this is a really exciting song, and play this one loud. It wasn't a single, but as with many album tracks from ABBA, it could easily have been. So this is the Spanish version, which I'm happy to have, and very underlooked album. One of the most successful in their catalogue. It really flows together as a piece, unlike some of them which may be a little bit dipping into different styles. This is probably the closest they came to a consistent piece of work in the same style, and as such it's one of the albums one goes back to and listens to quite a lot, and I have done recently. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.